know about y'all, but I need some good news, and I have some for everybody right now. In fact, I have 3 doses of it. 1 local, 1 regional, and 1 national. I don't want to bury the headline here, so let's start with the regional news. KUOW News in Seattle, Washington is reporting that Katie Wilson is poised to be Seattle's next mayor. This race has been so tight. If you need further confirmation that voting still really matters, that it is so important that you turn up at the polls and vote, please look at the vote counts in the Seattle mayor's race. Yesterday, I think Katie was up by 91 votes. Oh, my husband's bringing me a hot water bottle. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so Katie Wilson now has slipped ahead just a little bit more. She is 0.71 percentage points above the incumbent Bruce Harrell. So what we're hearing from KUOW, from NPR News, it is now statistically impossible for the incumbent Bruce Harrell to overtake Katie. Votes are still coming in. There's a question about whether there would be a recount or not, which would be expensive. I don't believe he has conceded yet. Now, Fox News was framing Katie as a Mamdani-style socialist in an attempt to make that sound like a negative. Okay, sure, yes, let's have more Mamdani-style socialists in the U.S. Katie is a member of the DSA. She did run on a populist socialist platform. In fact, if I go and look at her campaign website, her number one issue that she lists on her platform is getting results on homelessness. Number 2 is affordable and abundant housing. And number 3 is Trump-proofing Seattle. She also focuses on transportation and mobility, making sure that the city works for working families, focusing on climate and environmental justice, economic development, and progressive revenue. Right? I'm all for anybody who is talking about tax the rich, and Katie's platform talks about how Seattle is a tax haven like the Cayman Islands, and how that makes it very difficult to fund equitable programs in Seattle and to create a reliable source of revenue for the government to be able to serve the people. Right? Unlike here in Oregon, where you pay 9 or 10% income tax, Washington State, like Texas and Florida, they don't have any income tax. So here we see yet another example of an American city where a populist, democratic socialist platform has been really appealing to the electorate. As of earlier this morning, Wilson told KUOW News that she was beginning to prep her transition team, and by the afternoon said that even though Harrell had not conceded yet, we now believe we're in an insurmountable position. Harrell is scheduled to have a press conference tomorrow at noon, so hopefully we will find out more then about his concession. Super, super good news. Yay, Seattle. Well done. Really happy for y'all. If you have no other takeaway than this, please remember that elections still matter. Your vote still matters. We, the people, still can have our voice heard and have representation in government, but it requires all of us turning out to vote. Okay, actually, one more takeaway besides just that. As we are watching entrenched, wealthy establishment Democrats basically do us all dirty, please understand that we have the ability to reform the party. The party is who we vote for, right? It is the people who have the power. First, Zoran Mamdani in New York, and now Katie Wilson in Seattle. There's so many good folks who are running for office. I think we should be getting ourselves pumped up for the primary season, thinking about all of the changes that we, the people, can bring about in order to not only restore our democracy, but to give us the kind of country and the kind of governance we should have been having all along. Okay, number 2, on a national level, Adelita Grijalva, representative from Arizona, was sworn in today. Mike Johnson really didn't want to have to do it, but oh well, he delayed swearing her in for, 7 weeks? All because they don't want this discharge petition for the Jeffrey Epstein files to get the 218 signatures. And too bad. He could only put it off so long. And with this really damaging news that came out from the New York Times today about all of these emails and correspondence around the Epstein files, makes Trump look real bad. And now, poor Mike Johnson, he had to swear in Adelita Grijalva. I got my alarm going off. I have a Meager Watch training in 10 minutes, so let me try and finish this video real quick. So Representative Grijalva was sworn in. 700,000 folks in Arizona now have representation in government that had been denied them by Mike Johnson. Grijalva committed to adding her name as the 218th signature on this discharge petition. If you don't understand how the discharge petition works, basically, once they get 218 signatures, then that automatically triggers a vote on the House floor demanding that the Justice Department release these additional Epstein files. So the discharge petition signed, there's now going to be this floor vote on whether to release the files that will be scheduled for early December, according to The Guardian. Grijalva had invited Liz Stein and Jessica Michaels, two of Jeffrey Epstein's victims, to be present in the House gallery for her swearing in. And in reference to both Katie Wilson and Adelita Grijalva, to be in this period of tremendous political turbulence where it's really challenging to even consider putting yourself into a position where you have to interact with literal fascists, where you are trying to govern in a time when Republicans are intent on dismantling any functional government in this country to institute an authoritarian rule, to try and make Donald Trump a king. It takes a certain amount of bravery and a tremendous amount of sacrifice to be willing to run for public office. And we need more people to do that. We need good people who are willing to do this job. And so I'm really grateful for folks like Katie and for Adelita who are willing to take that up, willing to make that sacrifice and launch themselves into what they know is going to be extremely difficult work. We need more folks to step up and do that. And the last story is a local one that we are actually seeing play out over and over in the Portland metro area right now. ICE are intent on stalking the neighborhoods around our schools. It has happened in Hillsborough, in Beaverton, in Gresham, and last week it happened in North Portland, Northeast Portland, and Southeast Portland. Now, we are a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state. ICE is not permitted inside our schools, despite the fact that Donald Trump, way back in January, canceled a Biden policy that prevented ICE from going into schools, churches, and hospitals. Here in Oregon, we don't let them in our schools, but they've been lurking around, snatching parents who are dropping their kids off or going to pick them up. So this call went out late last week that ICE was spotted around schools in North Portland. And y'all, folks from the community, from the neighborhood, poured out, lined the sidewalks, and made sure that they stood guard so the kids could get home safely after school. It happened again today in Portland, in much closer to my house, Menlo Park. It was reported that ICE agents were in the neighborhood. Do not be fooled, y'all. They are intentionally targeting schools. This is all about trying to make kids too afraid to go to school, trying to terrorize our immigrant neighbors into hiding at home, right? It's not just the snatching of immigrants. It's about interrupting the ability of immigrants in Portland to be able to go to the grocery store, to go to work, to go to school and get an education. The cruelty is the point. They are picking neighborhoods right around elementary schools on purpose. And what we saw again today is that folks who live in the area, parents, they're turning up. I made a video last week or so about how it's really important that we look to the example in Chicago of family members of more protected students in these schools being willing to go every morning as kids are arriving at school and every afternoon as kids are leaving, to help make sure they get to and from school safely and to help make sure that their parents are not snatched. And it's not just the family members of kids in the school, it's also folks who live in those neighborhoods. It is retired folks, people who maybe work the night shift, people who maybe, have flexible hours with their job where they can show up at 2:30 in the afternoon. Because remember, y'all, who keeps us safe? We do. We keep us safe. And to me, I'm so encouraged by these actions, the willingness of people to be like, yeah, I'm going to rearrange my whole schedule every day. I'm committed to being out there at 7 a.m. I'm going to make sure that these kids are able to get to school and continue to learn. They will not be deprived of an education. We will not let ICE make our children afraid to go to school. Not only that, we are seeing from administrators that they are setting up these secure perimeters, making sure that doors are locked, that ICE is not allowed in the building or on school property. We see a coordination between the schools and local government and the residents to make sure that we keep children and their families safe. And for all of the really hard stories in the news over the last week, I am so encouraged to see how people on a local level are organizing, are refusing to comply, are leaning into their humanity and are willing to make sacrifices to protect those who are being targeted by the regime, to protect the most vulnerable, and to help organize to get us out of this mess. So I hope those were encouraging for you. Congrats to Katie Wilson. Congrats to Adelita Grijalva. And thank you to all of the folks in Portland. We're not going to be cowed by ICE. We're not going to give up hope. We're going to continue to organize and be encouraged by each other because courage is contagious.